in this In Conversation series, I'm delighted to be joined by Akash Vaghela, who is an author, entrepreneur, and coach. And he spent the last 10 years transforming bodies and lives around the world. In May 2017, he founded RNT Fitness to serve this purpose. His vision is to see a world where everyone experiences the power of the physical as a vehicle to unlocking their potential and doing something remarkable in their lives. He is the author of the best-selling book, Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life, and hosts his own podcast, RNT Fitness Radio. He's been featured in the likes of Men's Health and BBC and regularly speaks nationally and internationally on all things transformation. Hello, Akash.
Hey, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So RNT is all based on the pillars of transformation. Could you please tell us about this finding ethos and what that means?
Yeah, so we have 5 phases that make up the blueprint of our methodology that we use to guide people to not only get into the shape of their lives, but get into stay there, to learn how to stay in the shape of their lives. And there's 5 phases. They are, and I'll go through them very quickly. The first phase is called cleaning the palate. And this phase is all about regaining control of your day, setting the structure, strategy, and systems for your success, and installing all the positive habits to lay your foundation for the future. This is what allows you to kind of get the ball rolling, get the flywheel in motion, and build the momentum to take you into the next phase, which is called the process phase. And this is all about everything you've built on in the foundation. It's layering on top of these, layering on top of each one of them, and really driving towards the position where you're in the shape of your life. And I call it the process phase because all you're focused about now is the process. You know, a lot of the time we're focused on the result before the process comes, but in the process phase, we're looking at putting one step in front of each other to get to that point where we're in the shape of our lives, which puts us into phase 3 called consolidation. Now, most people get to the shape of their lives and they do one of 2 things. If you think about it as a mountain analogy, they climb all the way to the top of the mountain. They get to the top of the mountain and they either just try and free fall all the way down, where they end up tumbling, accumulating loads of injuries, and end up in worse place than when they started that climb, i.e. the rebounding, the yo-yoing, the person who lost 10 kilos gains 20 kilos back. That's one option. Or the second option is to take the safe passage home, which is to climb slowly down the mountain. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be hard. It's something you've not done before because you're finally breaking that yo-yo cycle, but you make it out the other side in a couple of months. You're like, okay, I've actually stabilized myself. I've kept the weight off for a period of time. And then you shift into phase 4, which is the investment phase. And this time is when you focus on improving your physique, but more than anything, you focus on rewiring your behavior, mindset, and identity. So you learn how to stay in shape. Because what happens is when you go from, let's say, for example, you're 90 kilos and you go down to 60 kilos, when you get to 60 kilos, your brain still thinks like you're 90 kilos. Your habits and behaviors are still like the 90 kilo person. You're out with your mates and you think, yeah, I'm going to have 10 pints. So that's just what I do. But you have to rewire that and set new behaviors, a new mindset, a new identity of someone who's, no, I'm actually a healthy and fit person. I'm going to have 1 beer and call it a day, because that's what allows you to then enter the reward phase, i.e. phase 5, where you can enjoy being in the shape of your life for life. And I put these, they're very nicely woven together and and I spoke about them briefly, but they all take a long time, especially what happens after you get into shape. And I think there's a real identity crisis people reach when they get into shape, that they struggle in shedding the skin to being someone who identifies with being a healthy and fit person. But the key really is to make that transition so you can stay there. And the reason why I have these 5 phases is because of, seeing, firstly, in my own personal experience in 2014, especially when, I won a bodybuilding competition, and then I ended up in worse shape than I entered it in 6 weeks later. And, and I thought there's something wrong here. And I developed a really bad relationship with food. Then I started seeing in clients who would get into shape, or people who get into shape, and the next thing they're worse than when they started. And I think what I wanted to build was a methodology and a group of phases where people could not only get into shape, but they could learn how to stay there. And that's the real hard work. And I opened my book with saying, getting in shape is easy. Staying in shape is a whole different ballgame.
So what I'm hearing from you is that in order to achieve a physical transformation, there is a lot of mental transformation that needs to come. It's almost like it's more of a mental transformation than a physical one.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I strongly believe in is that the body is a representation of the mind. If someone increases their body weight quite drastically, something is going on in their head. Yes, they may be eating the wrong foods. Yes, they may not be moving as much, but the body is a representation of the mind. It never lies. I think it's like a scorecard almost for you. And I think to not only get into shape, but just really to stay there. Like, it's so difficult to stay there when you're not used to it. You have to rewire your mindset, and you have to have a reason that goes beyond just looking good in order to stay there. Like, it's more than just the physical, and the physical is the vehicle. Like, by working on your physical health, you can start, working on your mindset, working on your emotional health, your spiritual health, etc. But it goes up and it goes down. If that makes sense. You've got to work on your physical, but you've got to work on your mind as well.
Do you have to be successful in all of the 5 phases of this journey to be successful and see a transformation and change?
Long term, yes, but they all work sequentially. So you can't skip the phases because you have to go through the process. But at the same time, they're also quite predictable in how they unravel, and the same challenges occur each phase. For example, at the beginning, one of the hardest things is actually just to get going. Everyone needs a trigger moment to get going. Whether it's seeing themselves in the mirror, whether it's trying on some clothes, whether it's a passing comment, whatever that trigger may be, everyone needs a trigger to get the ball rolling. Once that trigger moment happens, you have to understand, well, okay, I need to look better, but what's the real reason behind that? And these are all the things that you'll face at the beginning. And then the challenges you'll face when you get into shape is not falling for the rebound, not losing control of your food, not forgetting that this is a lifestyle, not just something you do for about 12 weeks, which is what most of our industry loves to promote. It's understanding that this is a long-term game, and you have to go through all the phases in order to achieve long-lasting transformation. Change is temporary, transformation is permanent, and we've got to really move between those two. I would say it's a paradox, but those two paradigms in order to achieve long-term change.
You've spoken about rebounding and it being a lifestyle change, and just to make sure it's a good transformation. Do you have a lot of people who rebound, or do you think once you've got these 5 phases under your belt, you're equipped with the tools to keep the weight off and to keep that transformation going as a norm?
Well, if you put in the internal work, then yes, you can absolutely avoid that rebound. If you don't want to do the work, and when I mean by the work is the internal work, it's rewinding that mindset. If you're not willing to change the way you are yourself in your social environments, in the way you react to stress, because so much of what we do is we use crutches to deal with various things in our life, right? If I call it the muck. If anytime something comes up, whether it's a stressful occasion or a toxic relationship or whatever it may be, we use crutches to fill that void of binging on TV, not moving enough, eating a whole pack of biscuits and using drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be. When you get into shape, you can temporarily restrict yourself from those. When you now have to stay in shape, you now have no deadline. You just have this lifestyle, but you've got to find different ways of dealing with the things that are going on in your life. Or even better, what you really need to do is, instead of just finding a positive coping mechanism, it's actually just dealing with the issue. And I think that's where the real root of transformation is, because like, if we reroute this back to what I said, with the body being a representation of the mind, if we can work on a lot of these issues that we have in our life, whether it's a relationship you need to sort out, or whether it's a job you need to sort out, or whether it's just traumatic experiences from the past you've yet to resolve, until you can deal with that, until you can deal with the root, the physical transformation won't actually last, because you'll fall back into your bad behaviors. You'll fall back into your bad lifestyle choices. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you change your if you transform your mental view of, your body, your weight loss, your food and all the rest of it, will you always see those results manifest physically? You will be in better shape.
Yeah, it works both ways. And that's the thing. Like, you can't just tell yourself all these things. You can't. This is where I get really, when I see things like, you just need to tell yourself you love your body, or, it's okay to, be overweight, or whatever these things you might hear. Well, it's like, are you actually showing love to your body that way? Isn't the best way to show love to your body actually care for it and actually nourish for it? This is not me saying that you need to be in a specific shape, but the best way to show that you actually love your body is actually nurture it and to give it the care it needs. And that is through hydration, to sleep, good foods, activity, etc.
So let me ask you some stuff based on what you said, a kind of myth busting quick fire round. What is the relationship for people between diet and exercise? Is it that, can you outrun a bad diet, or what is that mindset where you've done a good workout and then you think, well, I can have half a packet of Jaffa cakes because I've done something really good this morning?
Well, if you've got that mindset, you probably won't be achieving the results that you're gonna want. But also, I think it's an unhealthy relationship to have with food. You know, seeing it as a reward like that. You can't. It's very, very difficult to out train a bad diet unless you're extremely active, which for the most people here listening are probably not. We're probably just like myself and yourself. Like we work by the desk. We spend most of our day sedentary. We are active maybe for a couple of hours a day, but it's not enough to outburn the calories that may come from a pack of Jaffa cakes, for example. So having that relationship between food and exercise, I think they need to be seen as separate things, but also need to be seen as seen as like, I'm going to do exercise because it's healthy and it's good for me and it makes me feel good. I'm going to eat well because it makes me feel good, makes me perform well, makes me think better, etc. I think that's the relationship we need to have. That's a very difficult one to cultivate, obviously, if there's a mental health element in there as well.
So we all know that we can eat too much. Can you eat too little? Is that something that can happen to you?
Yeah. I mean, I always think, let's say, for example, you want to lose weight. You want to lose body weight on as many calories as possible that you can do it on. There's no point in starving yourself because you're going to create a bad relationship with food, but you're also just creating unnecessary suffering for no reason. Like, you don't need to torture yourself by eating too little. And more than anything, your performance is going to go down day to day. You're not going to feel good at all. You should feel good when you're eating well. You shouldn't be feeling like you're starving or hungry or always food focused. So absolutely, I think there's a sweet spot, and it's just about finding your own sweet spot to where you feel, look, and perform at your best, as opposed to eating too much or eating too little.
What about vegetarian or vegans? Do they struggle with that healthy relationship because they're limited in food choices, or people with allergies or other restrictive kind of diets?
Well, I think nowadays vegan and vegetarianism is so easy compared to how it was, say, 5-10 years ago. 5-10 years ago, I remember trying to advise people, and all I could see in the supermarket was tofu and then beans. Whereas now there's so many options for people to eat a healthy, nutritious diet with vegetarian and vegan options. And I actually wouldn't say that makes a difference anymore. So I've seen people who are vegan and achieve incredible fitness feats, and I've seen vegetarians do the same. So I don't think there's a reason to impose any self-limiting beliefs there.
So if you look at diets, some people say avoid all carbs, some will say avoid all sugars, some will say avoid all fats, some will say avoid too much meat. What should we avoid, or are all these myths, or what is the balance that we need to achieve?
Well, one of my team has a really good quote: "There's no fattening foods, only fattening amounts." And I think it's one of the best ways to answer that question, in that there's no bad foods. There's no, you should not eat carbs, you should only eat fats, or whatever that is, because it's only fattening amounts. There's only too much of it. I think there's some good minimums you can apply. For example, it's good to have a certain amount of protein in your diet. It's good to have a certain amount of fats in your diet, so for healthy hormonal function, etc. But saying like carbs are evil or fats are evil or whatever, you can't eat carbs after 6 p.m. and whatever the latest myth is or fad is, I think more than anything, it just comes down to calorie amounts and to just overall amounts of food. Is just don't overdo it.
You can eat what you want as long as you eat standing up. All that is nonsense. Just eat a good balanced diet.
Yeah, or you can only eat between 1 and 5 p.m. or you can eat 5 days nothing and 2 days whatever you like. Like whatever these are all just sort of sexy ways to sell a new thing. And the reality is it's actually quite boring.
So many of us have grown up eating, dal and rice, or dal and chapatis or rotli or anything like that. Is that a myth as well? Is that part of a good balanced diet? Or I'm hearing now you just need the dal, or you don't need the rice because you're carb loading in a way that's over the top. Is that true?
Well, the Indian diet is very interesting because it's very carb heavy. But the problem is, traditionally Indian cooked food is also very oil heavy. So especially the old
right.
Well, you got carbs and fats in high amounts. You just got a lot of calories. And it obviously tastes delicious as well, and it doesn't tend to satiate you, so you can just end up eating a lot of it. You can end up with 4, 5, 6 rotlis with all with ghee on top of it, and you've had 3 shaks as well, and it's very easy to eat. So I think the key really is to make it the small things you can do. Like what I encourage my parents to do, for example, is because they want to eat Indian food most days. I'll say just don't use the oil. So they won't put oil in their Indian food, and you'd be surprised how little that actually adds to the taste. Of course, it's going to taste nice, but when you take away it becomes, you just feel cleaner because you don't feel that sort of heaviness that you normally do with Indian food. So just dropping the oil, and I think you made a good point, is if you're going to don't have chapatis and rice, just have one of them because they're both carb sources. Just pick one of them, and automatically you make it a healthier meal. And you just by default of controlling the calories, that's all it is. It's just about controlling the calories. So you can absolutely have Indian foods. And for people that eat meat and love a chicken curry, every Sunday I cook a chicken curry and I don't use any oil, and I just use like spices, water, and tomatoes to get the paste. And you'd be surprised how amazing it actually tastes. So if you just get rid of the idea that you have to use a lot of oil and you have to have all the sides, you can eat Indian and actually enjoy it and be healthy for it as well.
I think we're going to have an iGlobal cook along with Akash one Saturday night. Is there such a thing as stubborn fat?
I think not in the way that the mainstream perceives. I think there's on a scientific level, it can be applicable at very extreme stages of body fat loss. It's like when you're trying to really achieve an extreme condition. I think I'm going to keep it really simple. And for the mainstream, for the people that are listening here, if you're blaming extra like midriff or midsection weight on stubborn fat, that's wrong. Like you just need to control your calories and you just need to do it over a longer period of time. I think that only happens at the extremes, but I think for most people listening here, that's not going to be applicable.
Fat is not stubborn. So what do you say to people who may be the fittest they've ever been, but still fattest? Or what would you say to age-related or hormone-related body weight changes? Are those real, or are those just things that we think are happening?
I've yet to hear someone actually say that they're the fittest and the fattest they've ever been. I just think that, not that they can't be achieved, but I don't hear that often. I'm saying, look, I'm fitter than I've ever been, but I'm also bigger than I've ever been. That's probably not going to happen.
Not ever been, I think that's an easy way to say it, but they are the fittest they've ever been, but maybe they are in the shape they were used to.
I think that can come down to,
need to be.
Yeah, I think that can come down to the whole thing around, you mentioned earlier, around out training a bad diet, in that you can train yourself physically well in terms of from a fitness cardiovascular point of view, but you've just neglected nutrition. So you've not been able to control your body composition. And for anyone who is in that space, I'd say, firstly, you're probably in a better position than most because you've got the physical activity locked down. Once you dial your nutrition in, what you'll actually find is your physical activity and fitness will go through the roof. So you're in a good position. You just need to work on your nutrition. That's what I would say for that. And then your second part of your question was around age-related.
It's called the middle-age spread or whatever else they call it.
The middle-age spread. I
think
I would say it's a bigger myth than people think. For example, and I'm just going to use my parents as an example. Last year my dad turned 60 and he marked it with a photo shoot and he got into the shape of his life and he had abs. He'd never achieved that in his life. And he just wanted to do this for his 60th birthday. And I think for me, seeing that, it just dispelled every possible myth I could have around. And then also for women listening, my mom did the same. So I think potentially it's harder, but I think it's harder because you've got a lot more habits to unravel and you've got a lot of more ingrained behaviors to work through. So you're just so if you've never worked on your health or fitness, you've got so many fixed ways of doing things. You've now got to unravel that. And of course, it will be a little bit harder from that perspective. But if you're wondering whether you can get into the shape of your life in your 60s or even 70s, you absolutely can. And it's never too late to take control of it.
So people might be wondering, how long does it take? Is it loads and loads of HIIT training, loads and loads of endurance cardio, loads of workout? What does a typical package look like, or a typical journey look like for somebody?
Probably less than you actually think. HIIT cardio, I think it's great if you enjoy it. I don't think it's actually necessary. I don't recommend it to that many people. I think what can help more than most people think is just simply tracking your steps. It's everything. Everyone seems to know what their step count is nowadays. It comes on your health app on your phone. People with your Fitbits, all these sorts of things. Just setting a step target of 10,000 a day sounds so arbitrary, but it's so powerful. And you just work that out. Can be such a powerful thing to do for your lifestyle without changing anything else. You can see massive amounts of benefits. And then I'm a big believer in resistance training as well, just because of all the benefits you get from not just muscular benefits, but also bone health and just general well-being. There's a lot of benefits that come from resistance training. If you're not a fan of resistance training, I'd say just find what other activity you enjoy. My bias is towards resistance training because I think there's a lot of benefit you can get from a muscular point of view. And as you get older, you want to make sure that you're working against that. But if you're not doing anything right now, I'd say working with 10,000 steps a day and trying to do at least 3 hard physical sessions a week, whether that's resistance training or some sort of sport class that really gets your heart rate up, will go a long way for you.
So Akash, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for that enlightening talk. And we look forward to being in the best shape of our lives soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.